Eggplant meatballs. All right, you guys, I'm so excited to share this video with you today. This is something that I absolutely love making. It's one of my favorite plant-based recipes, and it's pretty easy to make it as well. In addition, it's really easy to modify the recipe with whatever you have on hand. So if you don't have eggplants, or maybe you don't like them, you can modify and use mushrooms instead. If you don't have tofu, you can use white beans or chickpeas. And then there are lots of other substitutions that you can use as well. I've made lots of different versions of it, and it always comes out really great. And what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go ahead and start by pressing my tofu. This is something that I always do. Plates, tofu, just like that, plate on top. And then I'm gonna take this nice cast iron and place that on top, and that's gonna help press the tofu. That weight is gonna push it down. The eggplant and the onion, I'm gonna be cooking these up in that cast iron skillet as a way to get the moisture out of them. With both of these, I'm gonna use my knife and I'm just gonna trim the very top part off here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this into small cubes. And then I'm also gonna go with these eggplant slices and cut them into nice eggplant straws, just like that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and cut this like this. Okay, and then I'm gonna do this onion. What I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna load my onion straight into my skillet. Small dash, probably about a tablespoon of olive oil, like that. And then the more important trick is water is your best friend when cooking onions. I'm just gonna put a little splash of water in there, probably a couple tablespoons at a time. And what the water is gonna do is it'll keep the heat below boiling temperature, even though this skillet is on high, and it'll make it so that the onion can't burn. This is where I'm gonna just add some more water in there. You'll see this really sizzle up nicely. Yeah, nice. Look at that. Tomato paste is in. And then I'm gonna leave it on high, and that's gonna basically toast up the tomatoes just for a minute here. Really help it take on some more color. And just increase that depth of flavor. Now is also a great time to add in this Better Than Bouillon chili base. So basically just packing that umami punch along with a little bit of spice, which will be super nice in the recipe. In with the eggplant. We've got a lot of eggplant to cook here. Now I'm gonna take my tofu and I'm just gonna add this on top. That steam is exactly what we want to be doing here, driving all that off, and that's going to make sure that we have a really nice texture for the meatballs. Also going to add in at this point my steak sauce, and I'm going to do some barbecue sauce as well. A little sweetness, a little smoke. I think that'll be super nice in there. Really drive off that moisture, get it to a nice texture. And then you're gonna food process it. Now we're gonna go ahead carefully start to transfer this into the bowl of the food processor. You can see it's still steaming a little bit. So what I'm doing is just pulse and then hand mixing. This is where the wheat gluten comes in. This stuff is an amazing way to boost that texture. It basically just looks like flour. I'm gonna go in here with about a cup of vital wheat gluten. As I start stirring this, what you're gonna notice is that it will start to form fibers almost. That's the gluten particles coming in, mixing with the rest of the ingredients here and creating gluten strands. Gluten is a protein, so it creates these protein strands in there which give it a meat-like texture. Now, let's shape these meatballs. I like to do this right by the sink because if the meatballs start to stick to your hands, you can dip your hands in the water and then they won't stick. There we go. It is dinner time and I'm excited to serve up these eggplant meatballs over here. So let me just show you guys what I got going on in the kitchen. So this is how I'm going to make the pasta. It's my favorite way of doing it. Notice again, it's my big cast iron pan. And all I did was put about a ½ inch of water in there and I brought that up to a boil. And this is the pasta I'm going to use. This is the lentil pasta, but you could definitely do this with just a normal pasta. The trick is you actually don't need that much water to cook pasta. You don't need a huge pan or a huge pot full of boiling water. You just need a little bit like this. And it doesn't even have to be at a full boil. And I'm just gonna drop that in there. All right, and then in the oven, we're at 400 degrees. I'm gonna get on my oven mitt and check these meatballs out. I'm super excited to see how these meatballs are turning out. So let's go ahead and take a look. Oh my goodness, these look absolutely amazing. Look at that, you guys. You can see the color is just beautiful. They've turned a really nice golden brown and these look absolutely ready to go. When I touch them, there's a little bit of resistance. They've gotten a little bit firm on top, which is really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull out both trays there of my meatballs. So you can see here, these noodles are starting to soften up a little bit now. And the most important thing is just to keep on stirring it so that they don't stick together. But the benefit of cooking it this way is that you can already see this starting to happen, but the starch is gonna come out of the pasta and it's gonna really fill that water with lots of starch. And the pasta starch is a delicious, basically it adds a lot of flavor and it adds a lot of really nice texture to your pasta, because then when you add your sauce, the starch allows it all to stick together and form a really nice texture, kind of a silky type of texture that sauce is gonna have. I just want to make sure that my noodles aren't sticking to each other. A couple noodles are sticking together here, and so I'm gonna break those apart using my spoon. I just want to make sure we don't have these big clumps of noodles. And that can happen as you start to run out of water. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add the sauce. I'm gonna go in with all this sauce, which is, thankfully, sauce is a little bit thin. And this is a classic Italian way. In Italy, you'd rarely see the noodles separate from the sauce. Usually it's all cooked together. So let me stir this in. Also, another shot of tomato paste. You can see that's already thickening up really nicely in there. That's exactly what we're going for. It's just gonna make it so rich and nice. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is just go in with the ladle, get a really nice scoop of the noodles and sauce, use my fork, transfer that over, and then I'm gonna use my fork to just give this a little twirl as I put it onto the plate in the ladle. And look at what that does. Beautiful. Just really nice for getting a nice presentation on those noodles. So then I'm just going to ladle these meatballs. Look at that. Look at that. But you can see how great those turned out. They just look so good, and I'm so excited to share this